I heard one time that tier lists are the laziest forms of content, but when you make daily videos, sometimes you just want to sit back and relax. So anyway, here are the survivor perks from 7.2.0, which is when the alien released. If you're wondering why I'm not doing it from 7.3.0, where we're currently at, it's because no new perks were added. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to take a look at these survivor perks, and we're just going to rate them. Now, sometimes these perks, it can be hard to remember from the images, but I am going to tell you guys the names and the effects. I'm not just going to be like, oh, ace in the hole, and then just throw it up here. Like, I will actually read out the effects to you guys. So, Ace in the Hole is one of Ace's teachable perks. When receiving an item from a chest, there is a chance an add-on will be attached to it. There's a 100% chance, actually, that an add-on of very rare or rarity or lower. So basically, you could just get any add-on except for iridescent add-ons with this perk. And then there's a 10, 25, or 50% chance for a second add-on of uncommon rarity or lower to be on there. So as you tier up the perk, obviously there's better add-ons. This perk is not terrible, but it's also not really that great, because a lot of times whenever you're using chests in trials, it is either it's in an emergency when you really need a med kit, or you're hoping for a key, in which case, you know, this perk isn't going to help you guarantee either of those. Or number two, you're doing an unlock tome quest, in which case, sure, I guess you'll use this, but I don't really think that this perk is all that great. I think that if you want to run like some sort of cheeky chest build and just like have like a randomizer, like, oh, you know, I'm randomly going to use whatever item I get out of the first chest that I get, then that's good, right? Then you can do that. But other than that, it's not really the best. So I actually think it's probably a D tier perk. Like, it, for what it does, it's good, but what it does is not great. You know what I mean? Also, I just dropped one of my headphones, so that's fun. I'll have to find that later. Hopefully. Anyway, moving on, we have Adrenaline. Adrenaline is S tier. A lot of my community apparently has like huge problems with Adrenaline. Like, they do not like Adrenaline. They think Adrenaline should be nerfed. When I did my DBD Hot Takes Part 2, I had like 4 different people be like, Adrenaline needs to be nerfed, and here's why. And this is all the nerfs. And I'm like, no, like, don't get me wrong. It's a powerful perk. It's a really powerful perk. But I still don't think that Adrenaline needs to be nerfed. I'm sorry, I forgot to give you guys the description. Once the exit gates are powered, you instantly heal 1 health state. So you will go from dying to injured, injured to healthy, deep wound to injured. And you sprint at 150% of your normal running movement for 5 seconds. If you are disabled, this is the big part that gets like a lot of people, is that if you are like broken or hooked, then Adrenaline basically banks itself. So you will like, as soon as you get unhooked, Adrenaline will kick in. As soon as you get unbroken, Adrenaline will kick in. And that's part of what makes it as powerful as it actually is. And I just think that a lot of people they have trouble coming to grips with the fact that powerful perks exist. Not every powerful perk needs to be nerfed, right? Just like not every weak perk necessarily needs to be buffed. I think that as long as the perk is powerful, but it requires work to get the powerful effect, which Adrenaline definitely does, then you're fine. Then I think that that's perfectly fine, and we should definitely leave it alone. It's really. Next up, we have Aftercare. I thought all of these were in alphabetical order, but there's not. I'm gonna have to search for some of them. But anyway, Aftercare. The auras of the last 1, 2, or 3 survivors are revealed to you permanently once any of the following conditions are met. You have unhooked them, they have unhooked you. You have completed a healing action on them, they have completed a healing action on you. Those survivors also have your aura revealed to them Aftercare resets its effect once you are hooked. So this is a Jeff teachable. I don't really know why it's a Jeff teachable. It's really weird for him. And it's also a really odd perk. So I like the effect of being able to see the survivors once altruism happens between you and them. I hate that it goes away once you're hooked. It's so fucking random. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that it needs a reset. I just don't necessarily know if the reset should be you being hooked. I feel like it should be them being hooked or them entering the dying state. I don't think you being hooked should be it. But it is an info perk, so I'm going to put it in C because it's very difficult to not give info perks at least a C tier because more information is always good. I just don't necessarily think that it's the best way to give ourselves information. You know what I mean? Next up, we have Any Means Necessary. This perk recently got a pretty significant buff. It's a UE teachable, and basically, whenever a pallet is down but not broken, you can hold the active ability button for 6, 5, or 4 seconds while standing beside a drop pallet to reset it to its upright positions, and you can see the aura of all drop pallets on the map. This is such a meme perk, and if I was judging this based off meme potential, I'd put it in S, but in realistic terms, you're not going to get much use out of this perk. It's better than Ace in the Hole. It's better than Ace in the Hole, but it's not necessarily the greatest. Like, it's just not good. It's just not good. It's funny. It's interesting. It's memey, but it's not good. And I think that a lot of people just kind of tend to forget because I see it run a lot because people are like, haha, the funny pickup pallet perk. Because its cooldown they got rid of its cooldown. Before it would have been here, but because they got rid of its cooldown, it's actually pretty solid. And I like that. I like that. Pretty solid. It's not pretty solid. I can't fucking talk. This is what happens when I don't script things. Because of it, they got rid of the cooldown, it put it into a spot of usability in meme builds, and that's about it. Next up, we have Appraisal. It's an Elodie teachable perk. You start the trial with 3 tokens. When a chest has already been opened, you consume a token to rummage through it for an item. Rummaging through chests are 40, 60, 80% faster. This is very similar to Ace in the Hole in that if you build around chests, it's neato, but it's not, you're never going to run this perk with the idea of, oh, I'm going to start searching chests. You're just never going to do that. If this perk guaranteed like some sort of smart item, which probably isn't possible in Dead by Daylight, but like if you're injured and then rummaging guaranteed you, say, a brown med kit, or if the exit gates are powered and rummaging guaranteed you a purple key, then this perk would actually be like fucking like up here. That would be really, really good. But because it just gives you the option to rummage and get a new one, it's not the greatest. And it's below, I keep wanting to call this open-handed. It's below Ace in the Hole because Ace in the Hole guarantees a good item, while this one just, you know, what if you rummage and find a broken key? Okay, now the fuck what? Now what are you gonna do? Next up is the funny book perk, which should be somewhere in here. This really aggravates me. This isn't in alphabetical order. This is what happens when you don't make your own tier list, Kaiser. Yeah, shut the fuck up. I'm too lazy. All right, Autodidact, the funny book perk. This is an Atom teachable. Succeeding on a good skill check while healing another survivor grants 1 token up to a maximum of 3, 4, and 5 tokens. Each token grants a stackable progression bonus of 15% for succeeding a good skill check while healing another survivor. Suppresses great skill checks while healing another survivor, and you start the trial with a penalty of 25% on succeeding. So this is really, this is such a silly fucking perk because generally, it's crap because you start with a penalty of 25%. But once you build the tokens up, you can actually heal people for upwards of let's see, 5, 30, 60, 75% of their healing progress on a good skill check once you get all 5 of your tokens, which is ridiculous. I think it goes above self-care. Now it does turn off when you use a med kit, but you don't need to use a med kit. And I will say that if you throw this in with something like Botney Knowledge and Will Make It, you'll probably end up getting a pretty decent spread. It's not the best, but you know, it's not the greatest. Also, I missed alert because I suck. Alert is whenever the killer destroys a pallet or a breakable wall or damages a generator, their aura is revealed to you for 3, 4, 5 seconds. This actually isn't that bad. It's a pretty decent info perk. I think that one of the big things about it though is that it requires it's just pallets and breakable walls. No, it's all break actions. Okay, I just read the perk and I fucking already forgot it. It's a Fung Meme teachable, by the way. But any break action revealing the auras is great, and it can be good in chase. I think the only problem I really have with it is I don't necessarily think perks that rely on the opposite side doing something is good, right? If I have to rely on the killer doing something, then the perk isn't necessarily the best. But it's still probably one of the best of the C tier in terms of those perks. So next up, we have background player, according to the wiki, which... Here we go. Background player just got a fucking stupid good buff. It is... it is dumb. So it used to be that you ran for 10 seconds whenever somebody would get picked up. If you hit the sprint button, you would run for 150% speed for 4 seconds. For whatever godforsaken reason, the devs decided to up this perk to be 200% for 5 seconds. And then you get exhausted for 60, 50, 40, but it's an exhaustion perk. Of course you're going to get exhausted, and you can't use it while exhausted. But still, that 200% is dumb. Last Sunday, so you guys are watching this on the Friday. The Sunday, I did a video around Furtive Chase, and I was on Dredge. And in that video, I was like, oh, she's trying to use the new background player. It's not actually going to work for her, though, because blah, 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 blah. It worked for her. They saved that. I think it was a Vittorio. I can't remember. They saved that. That Jill saved that dude like 3 times because of background player. There's no more. So, you know, like a lot of killers, a really good habit is to knock someone down and then check the immediate area for flashlighters. With the new background player, you're not just checking the immediate area. You got to check like a wide range because 200% is 8 meters a second. That is stupidly insane. And it takes you, I think the pickup animation is like 1.5 seconds or something like that. Let me check actually, if I can find a definitive answer. How long does it take to... This is from 2019. This should be up to date. Someone says 3 seconds. So 3 seconds is... So put it this way. It takes you 3 seconds, which means that at 200%, the survivor can be up to 24 meters away and still make it in time to flashlight save. That is insane. It is actually insane. It's so crazy. I suspect we are going to get a killer perk sometime in the future that exhausts people within a certain meter radius whenever you knock someone down, just to quote unquote counter this perk. Next up, Balanced Landing. It's an exhaustion perk, so it pretty much, there's going to be like maybe 2 exhaustion perks that don't end up in the A tier on this list. Exhaustion perks are the best perks in the entire game. Even some of the ones that aren't that great are just going to end up in B tier because exhaustion perks are so fucking powerful that they're insanity. So balance landing basically reduces your stagger by 75% when you fall from a great height. It suppresses the grunts, and upon landing, you break into 150% normal movement speed for 3 seconds, and then you get exhausted for 60, 50, 40. I think all exhaustion perks are 60, 50, 40, but I'm not, don't quote me on that. So yeah, this is not this is not a bad perk. The only downside of this perk, and probably why it's going to end up on the bottom of A tier, is that it's, realistically speaking, it's not the greatest in the world for when it comes to, because it's very map reliant. So if you're like out there and you're trying to like use this perk and you get on something like Cockwind Farms, the only places you can really utilize it is the basement or the tractor. Even you can jump off of the tractor and use it, but if you don't have a lot of places to use it, it's not that great. So of the A tier exhaustion perks, it's gonna sit at the bottom, but don't think that automatically means that, oh, it's not that great. No, it's still really good. It's still a really, really good perk. Next up, we have Better Than New, which is a Rebecca perk. See right here, Better Than New. Upon completing a healing action on another survivor, they benefit from... Wait, what? Hold on. Upon completing a healing action on another survivor, they benefit from the following effect until the next time they take damage. Increases their action speeds to healing, uncloaking, cleansing, and blessing. By 12, 14, 16%. What the fuck is this? This is terrible. This is actually awful. I'm not going to say F tier, but it's still bad. So you heal someone, and then they can turn around and heal you faster by 16%. Like, yeah, they have unlocking, cleansing, and blessing, but who gives a fuck? I honestly don't like this. I don't like this at all. I think you should get the increased speed when you heal somebody. Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I heal someone, and then until the next time they take damage, I get increased speed. That might be cool. Like, I get it doesn't really make sense because she's healing, you know what I mean? Hey, you're doing great. I healed you so well. Like, that's thematic and everything, but it's not good. All right, Bite the Bullet. Failed healing checks do... This is from Leon, by the way. And it is... should be up here somewhere. Here we are. Bite the Bullet. This is actually not a bad perk. I think this actually might be our first B tier perk. So failed healing skill checks do not trigger loud noise notifications, and the penalty for failing them are only 3, 2, and 1%. But also, while you're healing, all healing noises are gone. So if you're somebody like I'm a Jeff main, right? Jeff is a loud motherfucker. If I put on Bite the Bullet, you can actually dupe killers with like Bite the Bullet self-care. You like run around, you run into a corner, and then you like start your healing and your noises disappear. And so some killers will just like walk through and be like, wait, where the fuck did he go? And they can't hear you. The downside of this perk is definitely that you need to build around it, but it's still a really, really decent perk. Blast Mine, my beloved Blast Mine. This is a Jill perk, and I love Blast Mine for its meme potential, but in terms of power level, it's honestly just, it's a C tier perk. So basically, you guys remember when I said I don't like perks that rely on the opposite role doing something? That's what Blast Mine is. I'm probably going to put it here. Whenever you repair a generator for 50% of a total progress, so you can do like 10% on one, 15% on another, blah, 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 blah. Get to 50%, you get to press the active ability button to put a trap on a generator for 100, 110, 120 seconds. If the survivor kicks the trap generator, it explodes, stunning them and blinding anybody in the nearby vicinity. Now, there's some cheeky stuff you can do with it, but it doesn't make it good because, again, one, it relies on the killer doing something. Number two, it is extremely, extremely situational. And number three, if you complete a generator, you don't get that Blast Mine back. So let's say you're like on a gen and you get it 50%. You hear the killer coming and you stand up and you attach it and then you fucking run away or whatever. And the killer like walks over to the gen. They look at it. They're like, I don't give a fuck. And then they walk away, right? And then you come back, or another survivor comes back, and they start repairing that gen, and the killer never comes back and that gen gets finished. Well, guess what? You get to eat shit. It's, you don't get the effect, and you don't get, you know what I mean? And you can't place a blast mine, start working on a generator, and start building up another blast mine. You cannot start building another blast mine until that blast mine you previously placed goes away. So, like, in terms of power, the perk is absolutely trash. I think it actually might be D tier. I think it might actually be D tier. Because even when you do get its effect off, the effect's not that great. This is for stun and blinding killer challenges. That's what this is for. Oh, great. Next up is Blood Pact from Cheryl, which should be here. So when either you or the obsession becomes injured, Blood Pact activates. Your aura is constantly revealed to the obsession. Complete a healing action on the obsession, or having them complete one on you, grants both of you 5, 6, or 7% haste. You have to stay within 16 meters of each other for this to work. And it is disabled if you are the obsession. Now, it reduces your odds of becoming the obsession by 100%, but that doesn't necessarily mean you won't be the obsession. I got this perk when I was doing the randomized perk challenge for the tome, and I became the obsession somehow. So I don't think 100% is accurate, but this perk is awful. It's fucking terrible. Like I guess it's an info perk, so I can put it up here, but I think the information it gives is far more useful than anything else in this perk. Blood Rush is a Renato perk, so it should be down here. Now, Blood Rush is really, really good. So there's a lot here, so bear with me for a second. Press the active ability button to lose a health state and instantly recover from the exhausted status effect. You can only do this while you're healthy and while you're on death hook. So you have to be hooked twice, and you can be healthy. It causes the broken status effect for 28, 24, or 20 seconds while you are automatically healing back to healthy. Cancels the healing effect upon taking damage. So basically what this means is while you're on death hook, a lot of people pair this with sprint burst. While you're on death hook, you're running, you sprint burst, and then your sprint burst goes on a little short cooldown, and then you instantly hit this button and you fucking sprint burst again, and you fucking just take off running, and you're broken, and then after 20 seconds pass, you heal up. So essentially what happens with this perk is it gives you a last minute, or it gives you one last chance to get away using your exhaustion perks. And it's really, really strong. And I think that people underestimate its power because it's got so many caveats to it. While it is A tier, I think it should be S tier, and they should remove the death hook penalty, but keep the fact that you can only activate it once a match. So once you activate it, that's it. You don't get it anymore. And remove the death hook caveat. I think that would bump it to S tier, but still make it fair, because it can only happen once a match. Maybe you disagree, but that's what I think. Boil Over, Kate Dennison's perk. This is actually, despite where I'm about to place this, this is actually one of the my most hated perks to go against as a killer. I hate this fucking stupid horsey perk, and I actually hate the fact that when they changed the wiggle mechanics, they changed it to give it mini Boil Over. I have no idea why that was a thing. But it increases the intensity of the struggle effects on the killer by your wiggling by 60, 70, or 80%. Basically what this means is whenever you wiggle, the killer has a forced movement of side to side. Whenever you use Boil Over, it fucking intensifies this shit to the max. To the max. It is so dumb. you're basically, the killer cannot fight against it properly, and it's so bad. It also, on top of that, obscures the auras of all hooks within 16 meters, and if the killer drops, it says from a great height. That's a fucking lie. It's the same thing as balance landing. Basically, anything higher than like a meter is going to make this happen, but you also get 33% of your wiggle progress. So what a lot of people like to do with the dumb horsey perk is they like to go to like top buildings and sit there and camp with something like flip flop and fucking tenacity, unbreakable, shit like that. And basically what they do is while they're on the ground, they just recover at a stupid fast rate. And then when the killer picks them up, they wiggle the killer off of the thing. The killer lands, they fucking fall off, and then they just run back up top and stand up there. And then as an extra bonus, I don't know if this actually comes with the perk. I don't see it on the wiki, but as an extra bonus, people who use this strategy will usually bitch in the in-game chat when you force bleed them out. Because how dare you counter their silly troll abilities. Just play the game and waste your time on me. Anyway, moving on, we've got Bond. The auras of all other survivors within 20, 28, 36 meters of your location are revealed to you. I honestly think, I unironically think, this is one of the best, this is the best info perk for survivors. Or one of the best info perks for survivors. The only reason I'm not putting it in A tier is because, number one, I don't think we should have to waste a perk slot on it. But number two, I think that unless you, I think that there are things that go in that perk slot that are probably better suited to what you're trying to do. Like this is a great perk. It's one of the best survivor info perks in the game. But I think that a lot of people don't I think that there's a lot of perks that go over it, but just barely. Like unironically, if I didn't have my build that I normally use, which is Deliverance, will make it, plot twist, and then I have a filler perk slot on there. Right now it's taken up by boons because I'm achievement hunting, but I think that once I'm done with the achievement where I always have to have a boon on me to bless hex totems, I think Bond's going to go in that filler slot. I think Bond's a really good perk to go in filler slots. If you have a build that's only 3 perks and you need a filler perk, I think Bond's a fantastic filler perk for sure. Next up, we have Boon Circle of Healing. This got fucking nerfed into the fucking ground. It's a great altruism perk, and it comes from Michaela, and what it does is once you bless a hex totem, turn it into a boon, within 24 meters of that boon, altruistic healing speeds are increased by 50, 75, and 100% when not using a med kit, and if a survivor is injured, their aura is revealed when they're inside the boon. So this is a great altruistic perk. And I think it used to be up here because you used to be able to heal yourself while you were in the boon, but it dropped down to B tier after its nerf because it is altruistic based. If you have people who are willing to work with you, it's great. If you are in solo queue where everybody likes to crouch in corners the moment they hear the terror radius of the trapper, then it's fucking dog shit, and you're gonna find yourself really, really pissed off. Your better bet is to use the perk slot for something else and just bring a med kit with additional charges. Next up is Boon Dark Theory. Oh, this perk is still so fucking awful, dude. People, when I first mentioned this and way back in my Boon versus Hex Totems video, I was so blown away by the fact that you only get, so it's just like Circle of Healing, 24 meter radius. You only get 2% haste, and then it lingers for 2, 3, or 4 seconds after leaving the boon's range. Now, with the introduction of Made for this, which we'll get to when we get to it, 2% is actually pretty good speed, but the fact that it's a boon is what makes it so fucking terrible. Because of the fact that you need to go out and find yourself a fucking boon to even make this perk work, and then it's the limited range of 24 meters, that's what makes it bad. Now, I know that all boons are mainlined to be 24 meters, but some boons, like Dark Theory, should have a bigger radius. If this was 36 meters over 24, I would put it in C tier. because at the very least, that's something that's worth having. But I still think that, now I don't think it's bottom. I think it's actually probably the middle of D tier, but it's just so bad. It's so bad. Next up is Boon Exponential, 24 meters, 90. All survivors in the dying state recover at a 90, 95, or 100% recovery rate, or increased recovery rate, and it unlocks the self-recovery ability, allowing them to fully stand up. So basically, it gives unbreakable to everybody within its radius. Now, where is it? Now, Boon Exponential is, it's the current boon that I'm using to try to get my achievement because it works really well with Plot Twist. But if I'm being honest with you, it's not the greatest. It's not a bad perk per se, but it is a boon, and it suffers from the same problem that all boons suffer from, in that if you don't find a totem, or if the totem spawns are bad, then, you know, one of the good things about this perk is you can put it in something like, you can put it like in a totem that's next to the exit gates, and then it allows you guys to play around the exit gates a little bit easier. But outside of that, it's not really the greatest. What you want to do with it is you want to find places where survivors are going to go down often, so that they maybe have a chance to get back up. But it's also just, I mean, what do you want? It's a boon. It's a boon. It's not going to go very high. No boons, including the next one, are going to go above B tier, right? So next up, we have Boon Shadow Step, 24 meters. Obviously, while in the boon's radius, scratch marks don't exist. Auras cannot be read, and both effects linger for 2, 3, or 4 seconds after the boon's range. Now, this is the second B tier boon perk. I think it's actually pretty okay. But this is another perk that suffers from that 24 meter range. I think if this was 36 meters, it'd be a lot better. It would probably be like here as opposed to down here, but it is a good perk to put at strong loops. So if you find like a jungle gym or shack or whatever, and you can put Shadow Step there, it's actually really, really good. And it like completely fucks killers when they're trying to loop. So it can work. Next up, we have Borrowed Time. Extends the duration of an unhooked person's endurance by 6, 8, or 10 seconds, and extends the duration of their haste by 8 seconds. So basically at tier 3, when you unhook somebody, instead of having 10 seconds of endurance and haste, now they have 20 seconds of endurance and haste, which is really good. The problem with this perk is that because it's base kit, there's no real reason to run it. Like, if someone needs 20 seconds of haste and endurance, then that killer is going to get him anyway. I actually don't think it's B tier. I think it might actually be like lower C. It's just that like 20 seconds is so long, and I don't think that people need 20 seconds. Because if you ever in a situation where you need 20 seconds, the killer's going to kill you anyway. You know what I mean? So, Botney Knowledge. Botney Knowledge is, I think actually Botney Knowledge is kind of underrated. I'm going to put it in the top of the C tier. Basically what it does is it increases your healing speed by 30, 40, or 50% and reduces the healing efficiency of med kits by 20%. So this is made for altruistic healing. But that's just the problem with it. You kind of need to have a build around Botney Knowledge, or you need to have other perks that synergize with Botney Knowledge to justify running it. This is a really good perk when you have those things that require you to heal health states of other survivors. You know, you put Botney Knowledge, Empathy, maybe Autodidact or Circle of Healing or something like that, and then you just, you know, will make it even, and you just get like these stupid fast healing speeds. But by itself, I think that the perk is just not strong enough to justify running the perk slot over. I think that Will Make It is a much better perk in this perk slot. Like, yeah, it requires you to unhook someone, and when we get to Will Make It, I'll talk more about it, but Will Make It, like, has a higher speed and lasts a stupid long time. So this just isn't it. There's better perks to go there. Next up, we have Breakdown by my main, Jeffafa. Breakdown is somewhere on this list if I can find it. Am I dumb? I might be dumb. Here it is. Breakdown. Breakdown's trash. So, each time you are unhooked or unhook yourself, the hook breaks and the killer's aura is revealed to you for 4, 5, 6 seconds. So it is an info perk, which is, like I said, I don't think I'm going to put any info perks below C, because information is always good. But the hook breaks for 180 seconds after you're unhooked, which is cool, but not extremely useful. Now, if you bring something like the Putrid Oak, and then one of your teammates sends the killer to mid bitch, where the hook distribution is awful, then you might find this perk to be extremely useful. But the problem with this perk is that most of the time, when you get unhooked, unless the killer is proxy camp, this is a great perk against proxy campers, right? If you're like, I'm tired of being proxy camped, grab yourself Breakdown, because then the proxy camping isn't that great. But outside of that, it's not the best. And on some maps where hooks tend to spawn close to each other, who cares, right? This can be a counter to some playstyles and some problematic or some perks that you don't like, but it's not necessarily worth running just in case you run into those. Breakout, within 5 meters of a survivor, the following benefits apply. You gain... Sorry, I fucking read that all wrong. First off, this is a Yui perk. And anyway, what it says is, whenever a survivor is being carried, not within 5 meters of survivor, within 5 meters of a survivor being carried, you get a 5, 6, or 7% haste, and it increases the wiggle speed of the carried survivor by 25%. Now, the reason this is good is because killers move slower when carrying a survivor. I think killers move at like 4.2. Do they get a penalty or do they have like a flat rate? Let's find out. How fast do killers move when carrying a survivor? It's a flat. It's 92%. Which, yeah, it's 92%. So you move faster than the killer when you're using this. So you can stay right up on their tail. And it's actually just really, really good for trying to help people get out of stuff. I think that one of the problems with it is that the 25% additional speed is great, which brings it down from 15 seconds to wiggle out to 10 seconds, if I'm doing my math right. 13 seconds. I want to say 10 seconds. It's 25% to 15. Three, 3.75, so 12. So you're almost 11. So it reduces it by about so it reduces it by almost 4 seconds, which is pretty decent. But if the killer doesn't have to walk very far, then who cares, right? Or if the person isn't wiggling out, then who cares? But I still think it's a really good perk. Next up is Buckle Up. This perk got a fucking stupid buff. And is now incredibly powerful when paired with For the People. But by itself, it's at the bottom of the B tier. When healing a survivor in the dying state, Buckle Up activates. The aura of the killer is revealed to both of you, and once you get them out of the dying state, both of you, you and the survivor gain the endurance status effect for 6, 8, or 10 seconds. It's just stupid. It's just fucking stupid. You run over, you For the People them, you're broken, that person's healed up, and neither one of you can get hit right off the bat. And it's so fucking powerful. But by itself, it's not that strong because healing survivors out of the dying state takes, I think it still takes 16 seconds for you to heal someone else out of the dying state. So yeah, if you can complete that 16 seconds, great. If you can't, bad. But I still think that it's higher than C tier just because its effect is so strong. Especially like, let's say you're healing someone and then the killer walks over and smacks you and you go from healthy to injured, but you're almost done. So during the killer's attack cooldown, you pick both of you up and take off. Like, it's just good. It's just good, man. Next up, we have Felix's Built to Last. Whenever you deplete an item, where's it at? Felix, where are your perks, you piece of shit? Here it is. Built to Last. Whenever you deplete an item, you can crawl your sorry ass into a locker for 14, 13, or 12 seconds, and it will replenish the charges of the item to 99%. Each use reduces the repair by 33%. So you use the item, then you get a full use out of the item, then you get a half a use out of the item, then a third of the use out of the item, and then you get, I think you get like one charge back and then nothing. This is really good for fully deplete tome quests, but outside of that, who really cares? If you plan on using an item so much you need to run this perk, I feel like you're not utilizing items correctly, but that's just me. Calm Spirit has fucking skyrocketed through the ranks recently because of a little perk by the alien called Alien Instinct, or Ultimate Weapon. Sorry, it's Ultimate Weapon, which basically, Ultimate Weapon, whenever the killer searches a locker, any survivor who enters the killer's terror radius within 30 seconds of the killer searching that locker will scream and become blind for 30 seconds, and then the perk will go on cooldown for 30 seconds. So the counter to one of the best info perks in the game is to run Calm Spirit. This is actually a really interesting perk. Basically, it prevents crows from being alerted by your proximity and flying off, suppresses the urge to scream, which is the counter to Ultimate Weapon, and then suppresses all noises related to unlocking chests and cleansing or blessing totems. Now, the stupid thing about this perk, which actually is why I'm probably going to put it in C tier here. The stupid thing about this perk is that it reduces your interaction speed, which is unlocking chest and cleansing or blessing totems, by 40, 35, or 30%. Now, look, I get that behavior needed to put some sort of like tier up progress into the perk. And one thing that I don't really like, that I find kind of uncreative, is that their solution to this is always to just have numbers that change. I would much rather perks with like multiple effects like this one. Just as you tier up, that's the next effect of the perk. But that, I digress. The point is that I really feel like there's no reason to have you slower cleanse and bless. I think it's stupid. So I don't know why that's there, but that's what kind of brings this perk down to the C tier, for me, at least. Chemical Trap. This is a new one from our friend Ellen. This is the newest trap perk. After completing a generator for a total of 70, 60, or 50% of the progress, you can press the active ability button on a pallet that is dropped to install a trap for 100, 110, 120 seconds. When the killer breaks the trap pallet, its trap explodes, spraying the killer with a chemical compound that slows them by 50% for 4 seconds. Chemical trap deactivates after triggering. So this is the same thing as Blast Mine. You're not able to get another chemical trap until the last chemical trap is either expired or has been triggered. But the aura of trap pallets is revealed to all survivors in yellow. So that's cool. It's an info perk, which means it goes in the C tier, but it goes way at the fucking bottom, because who gives a shit? I don't like, oh, this is an info perk. This should go in C tier. Anyway, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's so bad. Actually, I'm breaking my rule. This doesn't belong in C, neither does this. It's so bad. It's so bad. You have to use it on a god palette. If you don't use it on a god palette, then the killer just walks around it and does not care. But even if you do trigger it, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. That haste does not do what you, or that hinder does not do what you think it does. Here's the thing. You can get pretty decent distance, but again, you have to put it on something to force the palette. I personally think two things need to happen to it. Number one, the repair generator progress needs to go down to 50, 40, 30, so you have it more often. And number two, you should be able to build another one while it's on a palette. I think if those two things happened, then it would go up to B tier, and I think that's what needs to happen, because other than that, it's it's not good. It's not good. I don't want to say bottom of D, not good though. I would say top of D, not good. Anyway, Clairvoyance is a Michaela perk, and Clairvoyance states that whenever you cleanse a totem, you then get a little resource meter, and you have to be empty-handed for some reason, but you right-click or hold the ability button, and then you see the auras of exit gates, generators, hooks, chests, the hatch, all within 64 meters. And it says for 8, 9, 10 seconds, but that's the resource meter I was talking about. So you get 10 seconds of the duration. I think that this is a pretty underrated info perk, so I'm going to put it top of C tier. I just think that the second thing is too long, or too short. I think that it should be 10, 15, 20 seconds of resources, in my opinion. Some may say that's a little much. I think that if that buff went through, it would come up to about maybe here, right below Bond. But as of right now, it's sitting in the C tier. Corrective Action from Jonah, which is right here. You start the trial with 1, 2, or 3 tokens. Gain a token each time you succeed at a great skill check, up to a maximum of 5 tokens. Each time a survivor cooperating with you fails a skill check, the action consumes 1 token, transforming their failed skill check into a good skill check. So this is actually not bad conceptually, but it's only good whenever you're playing with your friends, right? So whenever you're playing with your friends who are bad at the game, it's great. But in general, a lot of times, the only way you can ever fail a skill check is either 1, you are actively not paying attention, or 2, you are trying to hit the great zone and you press it too early. I'm not saying that I never fail skill checks. I fail them all the time because I'm ass, but I don't think that this perk is strong enough to be worth running consistently. You know what I mean? Counterforce. Counterforce is a Jill perk, and it's actually not... I feel like people... Wait. No, this is not Counterforce. This is Counterforce. I feel like people actually kind of underrate this perk a little bit. But basically what it is whenever you cleanse a totem, first off, you cleanse them 20% faster. Then you gain another stackable 20% cleansing speed per cleansed totem. After cleansing a totem, the aura of the totem furthest from you is revealed to you for 2, 3, 4 seconds. Now, this perk isn't bad, like I said. I think it's a little bit underrated, but I do think that it needs a desperate buff, and that buff is for the aura to be revealed to you for 7, 8, or 9 seconds, or I would say 8, 9, or 10 seconds, one of those. I think that this would be one of the best perks in the game for those cleansed totem quests, and I just think it desperately needs a really big buff, in my opinion, to the aura reading time. Maybe if we ever get a perk like a Lethal Pursuer for Survivor, then it would be great to run on this. Anyway, next up we have Cut Loose, which is a Thalita perk. This is, as I like to call it, the worst quick and quiet. So after performing a rush vault action in a chase, Cut Loose activates for the next 4, 5, or 6 seconds. Suppresses both the loud noise notification and the sound effects triggered by rushing a vault. Successfully performing another rush vault while Cut Loose is active resets the timer, and then Cut Loose has a cooldown of 45 seconds. So the idea behind this perk is you quick and quiet over a window, then you cut loose over another window, then you cut loose back over the same window, and then cut loose through the window you originally quick and quieted, and then you chain those together to try to get away. Now the problem with it is that why would you ever do that? You're basically trying to mind game a killer at something like a TL wall, and it it's too situational to matter. Now I don't think it belongs in the bottom of C tier. I think we can put it up at the top of C tier because it is decent. I think that the 45-second cooldown is fucking asinine. I think it should be 30 seconds. But realistically speaking, I think that Cut Loose is it's not terrible, but it's definitely not quite to B tier. Dance With Me is another one of those perks that has to have a build and synergize perks with it in order to work. It's a Kate Dennison perk, and it's somewhere on this motherfucking list. Right here. Dance With Me. So whenever you rush vault something or you rush out of a locker, your scratch marks are hidden for the next 3 seconds, which is fucking terrible. It should be 5 seconds, and then it goes on a cooldown of 60, 50, 40. The cooldown should be 40, 45, 30, or sorry, 45, 40, 30. Because outside of that, it's just not good. You pair it with something like Life and Quick and Quiet, and it can help you get away. But as you've been hearing me say throughout this tier list, if something needs to be paired with other perks to be good, like if it needs it, then it's not a good perk. Dark Sense is the first of our general perks on this tier list. Each time a generator is completed, Dark Sense activates. The aura of the killer is revealed to you for 5, 7, or 10 seconds as soon as they come within 24 meters of your radius. Now, this actually isn't that bad of an info perk. I hate that it has to rely on generators to be completed, but I did run this perk in combination with Kindred and Deja Vu whenever I was doing the one of the generalist achievements for Survivor, and it was actually pretty good info to have. I just think that the fact that it has to wait for a generator to be completed is kind of bad. I think it should activate whenever you unhook a survivor. But the good thing is that if a generator activates and then the killer doesn't come close to you for a little while, then it's not gonna activate until the killer's actually coming close to you. So let's say a generator activates across the map, the killer's over there chasing them for a while, you're working on your gen, and then you're, at 75% of your gen or whatever, and then all of a sudden you see the killer's aura coming towards you. It does last that long, which is pretty decent and pretty good. Dead Hard. Fucking Dead Hard, dude. Dead Hard is still a great perk. They recently nerfed it. I say recently, it's not really that recent, but it's recent to me. They nerfed it, and now you have to be unhooked or unhook yourself, and afterwards it activates. You press the active ability button while running to trigger the endurance status effect for 0.5 seconds, and then you're exhausted for 60, 50, 40. Having a free health state in Chase is never a bad thing. What weighs this perk down, and what actually brought it from being the best exhaustion perk in the game to the second best exhaustion perk in the game, was that, number one, it has to be activated, and number two, if you just press the button by accident or whatever, and the killer doesn't hit you, it still deactivates. So you can end up wasting it, which is not great. But, that's where we're at. Deception. Disgrace. Evil as plain as the scar on his face. Deception and outrage. Disgrace. Okay, I'll stop now. Anyway, interacting with a locker while sprinting will cause that locker to flap open and do a loud noise notification. The locker's doors swing open and close, fainting a survivor getting into it, and it suppresses all scratch marks and pools of blood for 3 seconds, and then goes on a cooldown for 60, 50, 40. This comes from our Queen Elodie, and it's okay. I think it's a halfway decent chase perk. I think part of the problem with it is definitely going to be the fact that, well, to be honest with you, it's not the greatest in terms of like, if you're running and you turn a corner and you deception a locker and then you keep running and the killer turns the corner and they see you keep running, they can pretty much figure out what happened. But if you're really good at mind games, you might actually be able... Actually, I think this can be paired with Made for This. I'll get back to you on that. But it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not terrible. The reason that I don't think it's really like higher up in the tier, in the C tier, is because, like I said, it's one of those things where you have to rely on the killer not seeing you continue to run. But I like it. I like it. Decisive Strike. There's a lot of OGs that really hate the new Decisive Strike, because the old Decisive Strike was basically, it wasn't just a meta perk, it was the meta perk. But whenever you are unhooked or you unhooked yourself, Decisive Strike activates for 40, 50, or 60 seconds. When being grabbed or picked up by the killer, succeed a skill check to automatically escape their grasp, stunning them for 3 seconds, and then you become the obsession. This comes to us from Lori. Now, it does deactivate when you perform a conspicuous action, which is repairing, healing, unhooking, etc. And then it deactivates when the exit gates are powered, and it increases the odds of becoming the initial obsession by 100%. I don't like Decisive Strike, to be real with you. I use it in whenever I have to stun the killer for a tome quest, I use it in those builds, but outside of that, it needs to be 5 seconds. I don't know why it's not 5 seconds. I know that in the past, when you didn't have to activate it by being unhooked or whatever, 5 seconds was stupid. But now that it has to be activated, I think that 5 seconds is perfectly fine. And I also think that the timer should go from 60 to 80. I think it should be 60, 70, 80 seconds that it's active for, but that's just me. But for now, Decisive Strike is top of D tier, actually. I think that's some people will call it an anti-tunneling perk. I think that 3 seconds is way too short for it to be an anti-tunneling perk, but that's just me. Deliverance, my love, my beauty, where the fuck is it? Am I high? I saw it earlier. There it is. Deliverance is an Atom perk. Whenever you safely unhook a survivor, Deliverance activates. The next time you would be hooked, if you are not in the struggle phase of the hook, so if you're on your first hook, you can unhook yourself for free without any consequences. You also get the base kit, borrowed time, and stuff from unhooking yourself for free. And when you do self-unhook, it causes the broken status effect for 180 or 60 seconds. This perk is so fucking good. Now, there is a little curse that comes with this perk, which says that when you equip Deliverance, you will always be the first one found, first one chased, first one down, and first one hooked. But when that doesn't happen, you get your unhook off, you get your safe unhook. You're almost always going to get a safe unhook because base kit borrowed time is 10 seconds, and a safe unhook is 10 seconds. So you're almost always going to get that safe unhook. Very rarely do you not get it. Like, if you unhook somebody and then the fucking survivor just stands there playing with their dick under the hook, then yeah, you're kind of fucked. But other than that, it activates, and then you get that Deliverance, and it's so good because you just immediately remove pressure from you being on hook. There's this very in-depth, I'm not going to do it in this video, but there's going to be this very in-depth guide coming to the channel sometime in the future, probably a couple months from now, where I'm going to talk about all of the things that you need to think about when playing a game of Dead by Daylight. And one of the things you need to think about is how pressure activates, or how pressure is spread. When a killer hooks a survivor, he immediately takes up the time of 2 survivors. If the killer hooks a survivor and starts a chase with another, he is now taking up the time of 3 survivors, leaving only 1 survivor on Jin. Deliverance removes the pressure on one of the survivors. You will get hooked, Deliverance yourself, and now there is only pressure on 1 survivor as opposed to 3. This is such a good perk to run if you are trying to be the best teammate you can be, which you should be doing, because solo queue warriors who think that they're the main character are usually the first ones to die, and they're the reason you keep losing games. In any case, next up we have Desperate Measures from Felix, which should be here. Increases your action speeds in healing and unhooking by 10, 12, or 14% for each injured, hooked, or dying survivor up to a maximum of 40, 48, or 56%. Now, this is actually, I think this is kind of underrated. I kind of want to put this top of C tier because being able to unhook people faster, even if it is just 14% faster for one person hooked, is great. It's similar to Deliverance in that it helps you relieve the pressure faster. And I think that if you pair this with Will Make It, then you get the person off the hook faster, you heal them faster, and then you guys are out of there, like, really, really quickly. So I think that unhooking someone takes 3 seconds? I gotta look it up again. It takes 1 second. Really? Is that really all it takes is 1 second? Huh. Fucking crazy. So, so if you use this perk, you can unhook people in less than a second. That's insanity. I might actually use this. Hold on, I might actually use... Ooh, this might be good for farming my achievement. I'm cooking, guys. Okay, anyway. So, I think this is kind of an underrated perk. I think it stops going into the B tier. Actually, no. It probably can. I think it can sit at the bottom of the B tier just because that unhooking speed is just so fucking strong. And like picture if like you guys are in like picture if you're against a legion. Picture if you're you unhook people 56% faster. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's in healing. Oh my god, wait, it's not just unhooking and it's in healing. Oh wait, no, this perk is actually fucking great. Wait, why don't more people use this? It has no cooldown. That's really good, actually. That's really fucking good. Okay, so yeah, dude, you pair this with Will Make It. Oh my god. You can do a super healing thing. You go Will Make It, Botney Knowledge. Will Make It, Botney Knowledge, Desperate Measures. You're gonna fucking heal people you just unhooked in like fucking like, holy shit. I love it. Okay, anyway, let me fucking move on before I start gushing. Detective's Hunch from David. David, though, it's from Tap. What the fuck? The wiki has it. I'm not even kidding you guys. The wiki has it as David. What the fuck? Okay. Hey, wiki guys, get on this shit. Anyway, Detective's Hunch is actually not too bad of an info perk. I would put it up here above Clairvoyance. So, each time a generator is completed, the auras of generators, chests, and totems within 32, 48, or 64 meters are revealed to you for 10 seconds. And if you're holding a map, this is a cute little bonus. If you're holding a map, any objects revealed by Detective's Hunch will automatically be tracked on it. What that means is that the map has a limited range, but once you reveal something with the map, when you use the map again, no matter how far away that object is, you can see it. You can see that object. So that's a cute little bonus, and it's not bad. It's a pretty decent info perk. Distortion is one of the strongest perks in the game. It sits comfortably in the A tier. It's a Jeffa perk. So you start the trial with 3 tokens. Whenever the killer attempts to read your aura, Distortion will activate, consuming 1 token. Your aura is blocked from being read for the next 6, 8, or 10 seconds, and you do not create scratch marks for the next 6, 8, or 10 seconds. And every 30 seconds you are within the killer's terror radius, Distortion recharges 1 token. So really, aura reading perks are very common in killer spaces because information is one of the strongest tools in your arsenal. You know, G.I. Joe! So I think that for a lot of people, what they don't really realize whenever we're talking about Distortion, like a lot of people are like, yeah, Distortion's great, but what if the killer's not running any aura reading perks? Who cares? Like, most killers are running aura reading perks. But even if they're not, if you want a guaranteed value out of this, you could run this with something like Item of Obsession, where you're not going to be able to see, it cuts off the aura reading to the killer. Like, you can't read the killer's aura, but you'll be able to hide your scratch marks randomly every 30 seconds for 6, 8, or 10 seconds. That's pretty decent. Now, Distortion cannot accumulate more than 3 tokens, but it also does not activate when you're in the dying state, which I think if it did, it would piss even more people off. So I guess that's good. Pebble! 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 Pebble's a really fun perk, but it's not great. It's an Atom perk. Whenever you are in the killer's terror radius for 40, 35, or 30 seconds without being chased, this perk activates. Press the active ability button to throw a pebble a distance of 20 meters from your location, triggers a loud noise notification, and creates fake scratch marks. So I actually had to use this perk both whenever I did Adam's Adept and for a Tome recently, because I'm completing all the compendiums. And it was really funny because I activated it, and it caused the killer to go the opposite direction of the exit gates, which allowed my teammate to finish opening the exit gates and us to both get out. So it's kind of neato, but it's also not that great. I would put it probably right here, just because it just doesn't do that much for you. And also the 30 seconds to activate it is a long time. I think if they drop that activation timer down to something like, say 30, 35, 20 seconds, it would probably be a lot better. But because it doesn't come online very often, and because the effect is not that great, you know. Moving on, we have Dramaturgy from Nicolas Cage, which is down here somewhere. Here it is. Dramaturgy is a silly, goofy little perk. Whenever you are healthy, you can, it activates. When you're running, press the active ability button to do a stupid little knee-high shuffle. Gain 25% haste status effect for 2 seconds, followed by one of the random effects. And the same effect cannot happen twice in a row. Suffer from exposed status effect for 12 seconds, which is terrible. Or it can extend the duration of the haste for 2 more seconds, which is neato. You scream, but without notifying the killer, which is okay. And then you receive a random item of rare rarity with a random selection of add-ons attached to it. Rare is the green, by the way, and automatically dropping any previous held item. So the reason this perk is in B tier, oh, it also exhausts you for 60, 50, 40 seconds, which is really random, but, and you can't activate it when exhausted. It is an exhaustion perk, and it gets the, you know, it gets the little... So the speed is interesting. What's really strong about it is the receive a random item. And if you use the perk 4 times in a match, you're guaranteed to get that random item. A lot of people run Dramaturgy because of the speed, and there are 2 really good effects. The scream without notifying the killer is kind of a null and void effect. The exposed is the only downside to using this perk. And you've got a 1 in 4 chance for it to not happen until you've used the perk a couple times. But it's also only for 12 seconds, and you're getting a 25% haste, so you might be able to utilize it pretty well. But I don't actually recommend using this perk in Chase if you can help it. I think that using the perk in... just a normal situation to try to gain distance is better. But that's just me. I don't think it belongs bottom of B. I think it's actually up here. Probably above Breakout. Deja Vu, our next general perk, and actually been a pretty decent gen speed perk for a while now. So you see the ores of 3 generators that are in closest proximity to each other, and then you increase your repair speed by 4, 5, or 6%. If you're holding a map, then the generators are automatically tracked. But the gen speed of 6% doesn't seem like a lot, but it is pretty decent. But what's really strong about this is you can use Deja Vu to basically plan out the entire match. So you'd use Deja Vu, you see where 3 generators are, you try to break the gen. You try to break the gen that's going to cause the other 2 to be furthest apart from each other, and you keep doing that. And if you do it correctly, you can end up making the killer have like 2 gens on one side of the map with 1 gen way on the other side, and it's really effective at breaking 3 gens before they happen. So I think it's a really good perk. I think it's really underrated by some people, some content creators, but I mean, go for it. Empathic connection with Yuichi. I feel bad for Yuichi because he's got some pretty terrible perks, but whenever another survivor is injured, they can see your aura You can't see theirs for some reason. Whenever they're, this is the fucking kicker. So you can't see their aura, but they can see yours within 32, 64, 96 meters. So they can't even see your aura if they're out. Very rarely are you going to be outside of 96 meters. But, so it's so weird that it's only they can see your aura, but then you heal other survivors 10% faster. So the idea is use the perk. The idea is to use the perk and then let somebody get, you know, let somebody see you, and then they're going to be like, oh, there's one of my friends, let me run to them. And then you heal them, but it's only for 10%. So it's just, it's only 10% faster. They have to come to you. You can't see their aura. Why would I ever put this above D tier? Like, this needs so many buffs. Let you see their aura as well, and boost the healing to like 25%, and then maybe I'll put it in mid C. Empathy from Claudette. The aura of survivors of the injured state are revealed to you. Injured or dying state. I don't know why it says injured or dying, because you already see the auras of whatever. Within 64, 96, 128 meters. Where's empathy at? It's right here. It's not that great. You put it on healing speed builds, and that's about it, just so you know where the person who's injured is. It can be great for understanding where somebody's at in chase, like if they get hit and you see them being chased on the HUD, you can look for them, but I'm not really worried about it. Fast Track. This is a Yunjin perk, and it is so ungodly underrated. This is one of my favorite Gen Speed perks in the game. Like, genuinely, this is one of the best Gen Speed perks in the game. But the kicker is, it's not that great until you get it to tier 3. So, when another survivor is hooked, Fast Track gains 1, 2, or 3 tokens, up to a maximum of 9, 18, or 27 tokens. You consume all accumulated tokens after a great skill check on a generator, and each token grants a stackable 1% progression bonus, in addition to the default progression bonus. So whenever you hit a great skill check, you immediately get, like, I think it's 1.5% bonus. So you put this on, let's say you're working on a gen, and 2 of your teammates go down. They get hooked. You get 6 tokens. You hit a great skill check, instantly 7.5%. Boom, done. Instantaneous. That doesn't seem like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's amazing. And let's say you're not getting that much. Let's say you're working on a gen out of the way, and all your teammates are the ones being chased, and they keep trading hooks and stuff like that. You finish that gen, you go start working on another one, and then you hit a great skill check after you've consumed, like, after your teammates have been hooked like 4 or 5 times. It skyrockets it. It's so amazing. Whenever I have to do complete generator tomes, this is in my gen speed. I run Fast Track, Hyper Focus, Deja Vu, and it's the tap perk. It's Stakeout and Stakeout, which when we get to Stakeout, I think it's Stakeout. Anyway, there's a tap perk that whenever you hit a good skill check, it counts as a great, as long as you've been in the terror rating. We'll get to it. But you combine those 3 with Fast Track, and it's so powerful, but it's also still good by itself. Like, I just don't think people realize how good this perk is. I don't know why more people don't run it. It basically flips it on its head. So, it basically flips the dynamic on its head. So if you don't know, the killer wants the game to last longer. The longer a game goes on, the more in favor of the killer it is. But with this perk, the longer the game goes on, the more in favor of you it is. The only bad part about the perk is that it has to be other survivors that get hooked, but it's still so good. Your teammates are going to get hooked. Flashbang is a Leon perk, which should be down here. Yep, Flashbang. It's not actually an F tier, don't worry, guys. We're going to put Flashbang. It's actually not a bad item. So, after repairing a generator for 70, 60, 50%, enter a locker and press the ability button to equip a Flashbang. And then you just get yourself a funny little haha item. you get yourself a funny little haha item that you run to, you drop it on the ground, and it's literally what it is. It's a flashbang. It goes boom, and then it blinds the killer. And sometimes, this is really cheeky, sometimes, especially whenever I'm playing killer, it will blind the killer when it's dropped behind them for some stupid fucking reason. But it works just like a flashlight. It's like a one-time use flashlight. The problem with it is that the timing on it can be really finicky, and you have to get a lot of practice, and you're also probably going to have to run other perks with it in order to guarantee that you get it. But a really funny little haha thing you do is you run head on, which we'll get to later, come out of the head on, stun them, drop the flashbang, take off running, blind them. It's really stupid. But next off, we have Flip Flop. By itself, Flip Flop is pretty bad. I would say it's better than the Horsey perk, but Flip Flop, while in the dying state, 50% of your recovery progress is converted into wiggle progression up to a maximum of 40, 45, or 50%. So basically, if you recover for 15% when the killer picks you up, you'll be 15% further on your wiggle progression. This is great. The only problem with this perk is that it has to be paired with other ones to be good, specifically something like Unbreakable or Tenacity, normally both, but it also works really well with Boil Over. So basically what you're looking for is to just reduce the amount of time you have to be on the shoulder. But if I was going to choose between this and Boil Over, I would run this. It's just one of those perks that are, actually, I would choose Boil Over, realistically. Because Boil Over, you don't have to be left on the ground. So I think in general, I think that we can kind of write this perk off. It's not that great, but it is good in meme builds. Next up is Fogwise. I used to swear by this perk. I used to actually swear by this perk. I still think it's one of the... It is the best info perk in C tier. Any other info perks in C tier are just not better than Fogwise. Whenever you hit a great skill check, you see the killer's aura for 4, 5, or 6 seconds. Actually, you know what? I'd put Fogwise at the bottom of B. I used to think this is one of the best perks in the game, but it's still not bad. If you can consistently hit your skill checks, then it's honestly going to be just so fucking good. Like, just so good. It's going to be so good. And I think that a lot of people just really don't comprehend how strong it is, because there are better info perks in the game, but I think that this perk in general is one of those ones where, as long as you're hitting great skill checks consistently, you're getting constant value because it has no cooldown. And I think it's a better Vittorio perk than people realize. Next up, we have For the People. While you are healthy and you don't have a med kit, and you're healing a survivor without a med kit, I should say, you can have a med kit, but while you are healthy and you don't have a med kit, you can instantly heal a survivor from the injured to healthy, or from sorry, I spaced out for a second. So anyway, when you're using For the People, you instantly, in your healthy, you basically trade a health state with that survivor. So if they are dead, they go from injured. They go from dead to injured. If they're deep wounded, they go from deep wounded to injured. If they're injured, they will go from injured to healthy. Now, because you're trading a health state with them, you will become broken for 80, 70, or 60 seconds, and then you become the killer's obsession. Now, the good thing about this perk, and the reason it's in B tier, I'm actually going to put it above Buckle Up, but is that instantly healing a health state of your friend is stupid powerful. But these two perks normally get paired together, so you run over to a killer in the dying state, probably while using the new background player, instantly go, I've healed you, yay! And then you're both fucking injured, but you both have endurance, so you both just take off running, and then the killer contemplates taking another shot of vodka. Friendly Competition is a Thalita perk. Increases your you revel in... Fuck, I didn't want to read that part. Whenever you complete a generator with at least one other survivor, Friendly Competition activates. Increases your repair speed and that of the other survivor who completed the repairs with you by 5% for the next 45, 60, or 75 seconds. Now, theoretically, theoretically, this is really, really good. Wait, no. Increases your repair speed. Oh, it is good. Never fucking mind. It's stupid good. This is actually... Wait, this is B tier. Why don't more people run this? Essentially, what it does is when you complete the action, you and the other survivor can go off and I thought this was one of the teamwork perks. That's why I thought it was bad. Sorry. You and that survivor can go off in separate directions and repair generators for way faster for 75 seconds. That is a lifetime. I think that actually turns a generator from 90 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, 5%. What is 5% of 90? $4.5. So, yeah, it's... Oh, dude, that's really good. Because if you count skill checks, then you basically can complete another generator in that 75 seconds. That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, bottom of B, for sure. Because like the only caveat is that you have to complete it with somebody else, but... I mean, you're going to do that a lot, so... Next up is the General Perk Guardian, which is, I think this is, yeah, I think this is the old, yeah, this is the old Guardian icon. But, whenever you unhook a survivor, the rescued survivor benefits from the following effects for 4, 6, or 8 seconds. Scratch marks and pools of blood don't exist, and an additional 7% haste. And then Guardian reveals the killer's aura to you for 8 seconds. This actually isn't that bad. It's another good unhooking perk. I think I'm going to put it here. It's another good unhooking perk that protects the person you're unhooking. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think that in builds where you're trying to get safe unhooks, it's actually really good. Yeah. Yeah, not bad. Head On is the next exhaustion perk heading into the B tier. Like I said, there's no exhaustion perks that are really below B. If I can find it. Here it is, Head On. Bottom of B tier, though, because it's really not the best perk in the world. But whenever you get into a locker and you're in it for 3 seconds, you can rush out of the locker and stun the killer for 3 seconds if they are within range. And this effect lasts for 60, 50, or 40 seconds. Now, you also can't use it when you've occurred idle crows, so you can't just sit in a locker for the entire game and wait for the killer to come by and then use it. But it is pretty decent, especially when paired with something like Flashbang. The problem with it is that just like Decisive Strike, 3 seconds is not that long, but the reason it's so much higher than Decisive Strike is because you can use it actively throughout the match multiple times. And it also can cause killers to get very weary. You can actually cause killers to start like taking wider paths and shit if they've been hit by Head On one too many times. You can also, if you have friends, have them go down in front of a locker you're in, and then when the killer picks them up, you burst out of it and wreck them. Next up, we have the General Perk Hope. Hope is stupid good. Whenever the exit gates are powered, actually, I would put Hope in the A tier. Whenever the exit gates are powered, you move 5, 6, or 7% faster for the rest of the game. And that's just really good. Like, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, pairs were made for this, but like, you should have really been using Hope a long time ago. I think that it's a really good in-game perk. If you're confident you can make it to the in-game, it's really, really good. Next up is Hyper Focus. Quite possibly the best gen repair perk in the entire game. Hyper Focus, whenever you hit a great skill check while repairing or healing, Hyper Focus gains a token up to a maximum of 6. Increases the skill check trigger odds by 4% per token. Increases the skill check rotation speed by 4% per token. But it increases the skill check bonus progression by 10, 20, or 30% of its base value per token. So essentially, if you keep hitting great skill checks, you will finish a gen faster than you can ever fucking imagine. And if you do the build I mentioned earlier with Fast Track, where you have the tap perk that, again, I think it's called Stakeout, where good skill checks can count as great skill checks, oh, it's nasty. It's actually fucking nasty. Inner Focus is a perk by Hattie. Poor Hattie. She's like Yuichi. Her perks are just so bad. You see the scratch marks of other survivors for some reason. Whenever another survivor loses a health state within 32 meters of you, the killer's aura is revealed to you for 3, 4, or 5 seconds. So it's another info perk. I just think that you're never going to use it. You're not going to use this perk. You're not going to use it. You know why you're not going to use it? Because there are a dozen other perks that show you the killer's aura that are just way better than this. And you don't see the aura of the survivor being chased. So you can't even be like, oh, that's the person being chased right there or something like that. I think that if this perk, instead of like being like, oh, I can see other scratch marks for some reason, I think that if you could see the aura of killers being chased or survivors being chased, it would be better. It'd be infinitely better. Like, see the aura of survivors being chased within 32 meters of you, you know? It would be so much better. Inner Healing is a totem-based perk, which is here. You are automatically healed 1 health state when hiding inside a locker for 10, 9, or 8 seconds while injured or suffering from deep wound status effect if you have cleansed a totem. So you cleanse a totem to activate it, you proc the Inner Healing, you get in a locker, and then you get in a locker and you basically... My brain is not fucking working today. You get in a locker and you get healed. And yeah, no, that's pretty much how that goes. It's not great, but it's not bad. C tier. Iron Will, reduce the volume of grunts and pain while injured by 25, 50, or 75 per seconds. And then it doesn't cause exhaustion, but for some reason it turns off while exhausted. Yeah, this is our first F tier perk. Like, okay, yeah, it's good, right? Like, it's a bite the bullet that's on all the time. But it's not, because bite the bullet allows you to be hidden for it completely suppresses your stuff. I think that there's no reason it shouldn't completely suppress your grunts of pain and then get rid of this stupid exhausted thing. And then it could go up to like here, right? Like C tier. But no, instead it's one of the worst perks in the game, and don't use it. Kindred is an incredibly underrated info perk. Whenever a survivor is hooked, all survivors can see the aura of other survivors, and whenever the killer is within 8, 12, or 16 meters of the hooked survivor, their aura is revealed to all the survivors. Wait, I read that wrong. Are you serious? Okay, so when you're hooked, all survivors can see the auras of each other, and they can see the aura of the killer. And then when another survivor is hooked, you see the auras of each other, and you see the aura of the killer. That's stupid. It should be the same for both instances. Just when a survivor is hooked, every survivor can see each other's aura, and can see the aura of the killer within 8, 12, or 16 meters. I don't understand why it's separated like that, but we'll go with it. So yeah, it's still really good though. Kinship. While you're on the hook in the struggle phase, kinship activates. If another survivor is within 16 meters of your hook while kinship is active, the struggle phase timer is paused for 26, 30, 34 seconds. With the introduction of the anti-face camping mechanic, this is dog shit. It is terrible. It's crap. Don't use it. I don't ever think there would ever be a reason to use it. We're moving on. Leader from Dwight is actually pretty fucking good. So, increases the action speeds of other survivors in healing, sabotaging, unhooking, cleansing, opening, unlocking by 15, 20, or 25% while they are within 8 meters of your location, and it lingers for 15 seconds. This also counts while they are healing you or sabotaging a hook that you're being carried. Like if you're being carried and they're going to sabotage a hook and you've got leader, faster. If you're the one on the hook and they're unhooking you, faster. This is just really good. It's really good for altruism. Even something like the opening of the exit gates, right? You've got leader and you're body blocking to make sure they don't get injured while they're opening the exit gates. Fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal. Left behind, the Bill perk. When you are the last survivor in the trial, the Aura of the Hatch is revealed to you when you are in 24, 28, or 32 meters. If you're planning to be the last survivor in a match, great. If you're not, I mean, this perk, honestly, it's just bottom of C tier. Like how often are you getting a hatch spawn and you're the last survivor in the match? Not very often. But if you're going for hatch achievements, great. It's actually really good. Next up is a new perk from Ellen, Light-Footed. When you're healthy, your footsteps are silent. And then Light-Footed has a cooldown of 28, 24, 20 seconds after performing a rush bolt, which is really random. This is not that great. It suppresses the sound, but one thing that's like, I think that a lot of people don't really realize is that killers don't overly rely on sound that much because there's so many sounds in the game that yeah, you can sometimes be like, oh, there's footsteps over here and go investigate. But most of the time, survivors are looking for scratch marks, looking for loud noise notifications, looking for auras, looking for pools of blood. They're more looking than they are hearing. So, Lightweight reduces the duration of scratch marks by 3, 4, or 5 seconds, and then your scratch marks are spaced inconsistently. I used to think this is one of the best perks in the game. It is not. It does not work as well as you think it does. So I would not bother. Actually, I think it's F tier, honestly. Life Fung's perk is, where the fuck is it? What? Where's Lythe? This is a Fung perk. I use the other Fung perk alert. Where is Lythe? That's Windows. Oh, it's up here. What the fuck? Bro, whoever made this fucking list is so inconsistent. Okay. Lythe is a pretty decent, actually, yeah. Lythe is a pretty decent exhaustion perk. It's the 3rd best exhaustion perk in the game. Whenever you vault, you run at 150% for 3 seconds, and then you're exhausted for 60, 50, 40. There's not much else to say. It's about, there's only like one map on the game where you're not going to get used to it, where you're not going to get that much use out of it, which is Gideon's, and even then you're still going to get a lot of use out of it. There's no maps in the game that don't have vault locations. That's just all there is to it. Low profile from Auta is, I also realized I haven't gotten to a single Nay perk, so we haven't gotten a comment yet, except for just now about how I pronounce Nay's name. Where's low profile at? Here it is. Low profile. Whenever you are the only survivor in the trial who is not in the dying state, hooked, or already dead. What the fuck is already whatever. Low profile activates. It suppresses your pools of blood and scratch marks and grunts of pain for 70, 80, or 90. So basically, last person dies. It's the same logic as Left Behind. You know, it's great and everything if you're the last person in the trial when the last person dies. But you're not going to use it that often. It doesn't really matter. Lucky Break. Yui perk. Whenever you are injured, it activates. It suppresses your pools of blood and scratch marks for a maximum of 40, 50, or 60 seconds, which is absolutely insane. I don't understand why more people don't run Lucky Break. It is somewhere in here. Okay. I don't understand why more people don't run it, especially when you combined it with, exhaustion perks. You get injured, you proc the Lucky Break, and, 60 seconds is a long time. And then, if you start healing people, then you can get more duration up to the maximum duration for every second you spend healing them. So you don't waste time. Basically what that means is that, let's say you get lucky break and then you run into a friend that needs to be healed, you can heal them and pause your lucky break timer, is what that essentially means. But then it deactivates if you get healed or you get put into the dying state, which is fair. Lucky Star from Ellen. I think this is a severely underrated perk. Whenever you enter a locker, your grunts of pain and pools of blood don't exist for 10 seconds. And then when you leave a locker, for 10 seconds, you can see the auras of other survivors and the aura of the closest generator to you. And it goes on a cooldown for 30 seconds. This is a really good info perk. And it's also not a bad chase perk when you combine it with Quick and Quiet. So I definitely, there's this achievement to end a chase by hiding in a locker 35 times. I use this in that build, and it's actually pretty good. You can end chases pretty well with this. You take this Quick and Quiet made for this, and probably something like Head On if you really want to for funsies, and then you get around corners really quickly, and then you pop into lockers, and instantly everything vanishes. Your grunts of pain, your pools of blood. So they can't even, you know how like killers can tell what locker you're in because there's a pool of blood in front of it? That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. So it's hard to know where you went. I really like it. Next up, made for this. I mean, where did you guys think this was going to fucking end up? It's one of the most powerful perks in the game. It's the new Gabriel perk. It's so fucking strong. Whenever you're injured, God, dude, when will you ever be injured? You get a bonus 1, 2, or 3% haste while running. And then you gain endurance for 6, 8, or 10 seconds after you heal another survivor. The endurance part doesn't really bother me that much. What bothers me is the haste. I do not understand how there are people who think this isn't problematic. See, 3% doesn't seem like a lot. But when you put it in the context of Dead by Daylight, it's actually closer to a 20-ish% increase. Because you go from 4.0 to roughly 4.75-ish, and that bonus 3% means getting to a pallet you wouldn't have gotten to, dodging a lunge you wouldn't have dodged, getting to a window you wouldn't have gotten to, getting to a loop you wouldn't have gotten to. That small amount is one of the most powerful effects in the game, and I cannot think for the life of me how this has not been nerfed yet. Because technically, it turns off when you're exhausted. But I don't give a fuck. Because if you don't run exhaustion perks, congratulations. And then there's people who talk about haste stacking, but the haste stacking isn't the problem. The problem with Made for this is the fact that it is a permanent haste effect as long as you're injured. And that needs to go away. That can't be in the game. You cannot get powerful effects like that permanently for such an easy requirement. Anyway, moving on before I fucking lose my blood pressure. That and the fact that this video is already at an hour and a half of recording, so. Medal of Man is fucking awful. Take 3 protection hits, and then whenever you are about to go down, you don't go down, which is cool. But then when you get healed, your aura is revealed to the killer for the rest of the fucking game, whenever they are further than 12, 14, or 16 meters away. Why? And then it deactivates when you're put in the dying state. And then you're the obsession on top of that. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. This perk is so fucking bad. It's so terrible, dude. Like, it can technically go into, like, some sort of weird tank build, but it's just fucking awful. I'm moving on. No mither. Jesus Christ. Do I even have to explain this one? It's a David perk. You are permanently broken. You cannot be healed, so you're always injured. You don't drop pools of blood, but who cares? When you're injured or dying, grunts of pain are reduced by 20, 50, 75, which is okay. Your recovery speed is increased by 15, 20, 25, which is okay. And you can recover fully from the dying state. These all sound great. The problem with this perk, and again, we judge these perks based off of them by themselves, not within builds. The problem with this perk is that always being injured is not a good thing. You need that additional health state if something goes wrong. Without perks like Dead Hard and Made for This and Resilience when I get to it, this perk is ass. But even when you make builds around the perk, it's still bad. And I can't really put into words why, but just understand that even when people run Dead Hard, Made for This, and Resilience, they don't run No Mither because it's not worth it. No One Left Behind. This is another general perk. Once the exit gates are powered, it activates. Increases your unhooking and healing speeds by 30, 40, 50. Grants 50, 75, 100 bonus blood points for actions and altruism. Grants the unhooked survivor a 7% haste for 10 seconds. And the auras of all other survivors are revealed to you. It's not bad. It's not actually that bad. I don't think it quite makes it into B tier, and I think it's right below. It's a really good in-game perk, which I think that a lot of people just don't really put. I think a lot of survivors don't put a lot of effort into bringing in-game perks unless there's something like adrenaline or hope. I think that in-game perks are just not generally seen as great by survivors because most of the time when you make it to the in-game, I'm not going to say you've already won, but unless the killer's running an in-game build, you usually are pretty decent. Got a pretty decent chance of making it out alive. I think that this is a great perk for in-game builds in general. Like if you just want to focus on being strong in the in-game, you can throw it on. But it's also just like, I wouldn't put it any higher than where it is. Object of Obsession is a Lori perk. Whenever the killer reads your aura, Object of Obsession activates for the same duration as the aura reading action. Reveals the killer's aura to you and increases your action speed in repairing, healing, and cleansing by 2, 4, and 6%. Whenever you're the obsession, your aura is automatically revealed to the killer for 3 seconds every 30 seconds. Increases the odds of becoming the initial obsession of the killer by 100%. So this perk seems really, really cool. If you like, some people might be like, oh, I could do that and then pair it with distortion. But you got to remember that the perk only activates when the killer reads your aura. Now, the good thing about this perk is that if the killer is running something like, say, Lethal Pursuer, then you get that effect. If the killer is running Nowhere to Hide, you get that effect. Floods of Rage, you get that effect. And the killer doesn't necessarily have to be going after you. So something like Floods of Rage, the killer unhooks, or someone unhooks and the killer reads your aura, but they're going after the unhooker and you're on a gen, you get the 6% for a little while. I just think that in terms of info perk, it's probably not, it's really not that great. I would put it below the other eye perks for sure. I just think that for a lot of people, it's just not worth getting your aura read every 3 seconds. You know what I mean? You don't want to give the killer that much information, which is why it's that I actually think it's probably bottom of C, just because you don't want to give the killer that much information. Off the Record by Zarina is an anti-tunneling perk. Whenever you get unhooked for the next 80 seconds, your aura cannot be read. You don't grunt in pain, and you have the endurance. So you get endurance for 80 seconds. But if you work on a gen, heal another survivor, cleanse a totem, etc., you lose the effect, and it doesn't activate in the end game. But that does not stop it from being one of the strongest perks in the game. It's just a really good anti-tunneling perk. Open-handed. This is an ace perk. Increases the radius of all aura reading abilities emanating from yourself or other survivors by 8, 12, or 16 meters. So everybody in the trial gets this effect. And I honestly don't think it's that great. I know that a lot of aura reading perks are limited to range. Actually, the more I think about it, it is that great. I think I want to put it at bottom of B. No, No. Because it requires other perks. It doesn't have any ore reading on its own. It's not like Lethal Pursuer. I think that if this perk had an additional effect... I think if this perk had an additional effect that was like, oh, at the beginning of the game, see the auras of your fellow survivors for blah, 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 it'd be great. But because it doesn't have that, it has to have other perks with it. I think it's actually, like, down here. Yeah. Sorry if my voice is starting to go, but we're almost done. I've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes straight, according to OBS. Okay. Overcome. Jonah Vasquez perk. Whenever you become injured, you retain the movement speed from being injured, which is 150% if I'm correct, for 2 additional seconds, and then you're exhausted for 60, 50, 40. I think of the exhaustion perks, Overcome is one of the worst, if I can find it. Here it is. I think of the exhaustion perks, Overcome is one of the worst, just because I think it can do more. I think it should be like you sprint at 200% for 4 seconds or something like that. I think would be pretty cool. But outside of that, it's just not that great. It's probably, I'm not going to say it's the worst exhaustion perk, but it's pretty close. I think it's better than Head On, though. It's definitely better than Head On. Okay, Overzealous. This is another Hattie perk. Everybody, R.I.P. Hattie in the comments. Where are you at? Overzealous. Whenever you, it's another totem perk, which are not. They're not. Those aren't the best perks in the world because you have to find totems to even activate them. But after you cleanse or bless a totem, your repair speed is increased by 8, 9, 10% if it was dull, and 16, 18, 20% if it was hex. And then it deactivates when losing a health state. That deactivating when losing a health state is really what holds it back. I think it should just have a cooldown, and be, I think it should, or not necessarily cooldown, I think it should have like a time limit, like, oh, you got these increased speeds for, say, 25, 30, 35 seconds, and then it would actually be pretty decent. But as of right now, especially with it being a totem perk, I think it goes in the C tier, probably about right there. It's not the best, but it's not, like, stupid terrible. Parental guidance from Yuichi. After stunning the killer by any means, it activates, and your pools of blood and scratch marks and grunts of pain are suppressed for 5, 6, and 7 seconds. You will literally never use this perk under any circumstances ever. Yes, I have seen the Otstarva video where it is paired with Smash Hit. I don't care. There are other things that you can put in its place. It's garbage. It's not worse than No Mither. It's not worse than Medal of Man, but it is bad. Moving on. Pharmacy is a fucking damn good perk. Increases the unlocking speed of chests by 40, 60, 80. Reduces the hearing range, which is not that great, but it guarantees a green medkit. This is better. So if you guys remember earlier, we were talking about chest perks when we were talking about Ace in the Hole and Appraisal, right? We were talking about these two. The reason these two were bad was because you're hardly ever going to be using chest, and they do not guarantee the item that you get. But Pharmacy guarantees a medkit, which is the most powerful item in the game, and it guarantees a green medkit. Now, that doesn't necessarily... Now, all medkits have the same speed when healing yourself, but it does boost altruistic. So this is just a really good perk. It's something that I would bring personally if I cared about items more than I do. I think it's a really strong perk, and more people should definitely use it. It's just a guaranteed medkit is just so strong. Plot twist, my beloved. Whenever you're injured, you crouch, stand still, hit F, and then enter the dying state. This is a Nicolas Cage perk. You can recover from the dying state for free, and after you are done recovering from the dying state, you are automatically healed. And then it deactivates until the end game, where it reactivates. and you get 50% haste. So you automatically go to healthy, and you get 50% haste for 2, 3, 4 seconds. It's just a stupid good perk. It's so fucking powerful. It's just like Deliverance, right? Where Deliverance takes away the pressure of you being on a hook. Plot Twist takes away the pressure of you being injured. As long as your fucking teammates don't come and stand over you and wonder why they can't heal you, so they just start teabagging in a corner while you're fucking recovering from the dying state instead of doing something productive. But that's a rant for another day. Plunderers is another general perk. The auras of the closed chest and dropped items in the environment are revealed to you for 16, 24, 32 meters. It grants a considerably better chance at finding an item of higher rarity. So this actually sits in the C tier. Not too high, but I would say it probably sits about here. This is another one of those cases where if you're going to be running builds around chests, then sure, run it. But I think that one of the bad things about it is that it doesn't increase the amount of chest in the trial, which I definitely think it should. I think that the 32 meters should be base, and then it should increase the number of chests by 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3 whenever you bring it. Poised is a Jane Romero perk. After a generator is completed, you will not leave any scratch marks for the next 6, 8, 10 seconds. Okay. I think we'll respond to this with a resounding who fucking cares. You're never going to use this perk. Don't lie to me. I know that every time I do something like this, there's always somebody who like jumps into my comment section and is like,
you just really do not understand the complexities of this thing, and it is actually incredibly powerful if you use this in this very specific situation when the moons are...
Shut the fuck up, Ned. I don't care. You don't use fucking poised. You don't have a use for poised. You're never going to use poised. Stop lying to me. Moving on. Potential energy has anything but potential. It's not fucking terrible, but it is pretty bad. Whenever you are repairing a generator for 12, 10, or 8 uninterrupted seconds, press the active ability button to activate the perk. Continuing to repair the generator will instead start storing tokens. Every 1.5% of progress stores a token up to a maximum of 20, and missing a skill checks result in losing some tokens. While potential energy has at least 1 token, press the active ability button when repairing a generator to instantly progress it by 1% per token, consuming all remaining tokens and deactivating potential energy. But potential energy also loses tokens and deactivates when you lose a health state, which is fucking stupid. So first things first, you need to understand is that 1.5% equals 1%, and you're not repairing the generator during this time. This is theoretically a great perk with Prove Thyself. If you've got someone else working on the generator with you, they're repairing the generator at increased speed because of Prove Thyself, but you are also gaining these tokens. So the idea is to let them repair the generator super fast, you gain the tokens, and then you both go to another generator, you dump the 20 tokens in, and instantly get 20% of the generator, which is good. The problem with this, which makes it bad, is number one, you losing tokens whenever you get injured is stupid. Like, you lose all of them. You don't lose 1 or 10 or whatever. You lose all of your fucking tokens. So you build up 20 tokens, you finish a generator, you start running to the next one, and then Huntress fucking yeets a goddamn trebuchet hatchet fucking randomly after she hooks someone with barbecue. You get hit, and then all that progress, all that time wasted for nothing. For fucking nothing. Is it the worst perk in C tier? No. But it is bad. And the losing all tokens when I think you should lose tokens. I think you should only lose like 2 tokens when you get hit, or 5 tokens or something like that. I think losing all of them is stupid. Power Struggle reveals the auras of available pallets whenever you're in the dying state while being carried by the killer. 25 reaching 25, 20, or 15% wiggle progress activates Power Struggle. You can drop a nearby pallet to stun the killer and escape their grasp. So basically, this perk is pretty terrible on its own. But if you combined it with, say, Unbreakable or Tenacity or any perk that increases, or sorry, you want to combine it with those and Flip-Flop. So any perk that increases the speed at which you recover and Flip-Flop, converting your recovery progress into wiggle progress, die underneath the pallet, the killer picks you up, you instantly drop the pallet on their head, you get out, you go while pulling one of your eyes down, and then you fucking take off running. It's not the greatest. Again, it's terrible by itself, but if you pair it with other perks, it's not too bad. And it can have its uses by itself if you have a killer that likes to walk to Narnia to hook you. So, Premonition is a general perk. Receive an auditory warning upon looking in the killer's direction with a 45-degree cone within 36 meters. And then it goes on cooldown for 60, 45, or 30. I cannot honestly tell you who in the world gives a shit. I just can't tell you. I can't do it. Prove Thyself from Dwight is a fucking S tier perk. Stupid strong perk. Stupid fucking strong perk. I said Hyperfocus was the best generator repair perk in the game. Hyperfocus is the best solo generator repair perk in the game. The best generator repair perk in the game is Prove Thyself. Every other survivor repairing a generator within 4 meters, Prove Thyself increases the repair speed by 6, 8, and 10% up to a maximum of 18, 24, or 30%. This effect is also applied to all other survivors in range, and survivors can only be affected by one instance of Prove Thyself at a time. You grab Prove Thyself, 3 people hop on a gen, that gen is finished before the killer knows what the fuck, you move on, you do it again. It's a staple in gen rushing builds. It's a staple in builds where people want to get generators finished in general. It is so powerful. It's one of the strongest perks in the game. Do I think it needs to be nerfed? No. Do I think it's stupid strong? Absolutely. Probably stronger than Deliverance. Quick and Quiet, I've mentioned this perk a lot throughout this entire video. Quick and Quiet is a meg perk. Whenever you would do something that causes a loud noise, such as vaulting windows, pallets, or exiting lockers in a rush, you don't trigger a loud noise. And then it goes on a cooldown of 30, 25, 20 seconds. This perk is actually incredibly strong. I think it's one of the strongest non-A tier perks in the game, if not the strongest non-A tier perk in the game. It just helps with mind gaming, and then it just gets paired with so many other perks, right? You pair it with Head On, you pair it with pair it with Head On, you pair it with Lithe, you pair it with Dance With Me, you pair it with fucking everything. It can be used in so much. It's just so good. There's nothing more that I can really say. It's really, really powerful. Getting that just free, non-loud noise notification every 20 seconds can lead to some really, really successful mind games and escapes and everything like that. Quick Gambit. I hate this perk so much. It's fucking terrible. We'll put it up here. We'll put it here. So Quick Gambit is a Vittorio perk. Increases the repair speed of any survivor by 6, 7, or 8% while you're being chased within 24 meters. So you have to be chased. You have to be within 24 meters, and it's only 8%. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. There's no build on the planet that's worth it. Reactive Healing. While another survivor loses a health... I'm sorry, this is an auto perk. And it is... here. While another survivor loses a health state within 32 meters of your location and you are in the injured state, you benefit from the following effect. Grants 40, 45, or 50% of your missing health progression. This is actually not too bad. It's just not good enough to matter, I think. I think in reality, what you would really be doing with this perk is, I think that if this also happened in the dying state, it would be a much better position. It'd probably be very high C tier if it happened while you were in the dying state, but it only happens for injured. So that's why it sits right here. Reassurance. The new anti-face camping mechanic was supposed to kill Reassurance, but I still think that Reassurance from Rebecca is is a really good perk. I'm not going to say it's like stupid high, but basically while somebody is on the hook, you run within 6 meters of them, you press the active ability button, and the sacrifice progress pauses for 20, 25, or 30 seconds. And this can happen either in them just sitting there or the struggle phase. And if they're in the struggle phase, then skill checks are paused for 30 seconds. So they don't even have to worry about skill checks. They just sit there. And I mean, realistically, it's still not bad. Like, yeah, face camping is not a problem anymore, but if you're being chased by the killer, you can run by and still proc it so that it gives another survivor time to get over there to unhook because you're being chased. So I still think it's pretty good. I don't think the anti-face camping mechanic killed it at all. Zarina's red herring. Oh, this one's so bad. It's honestly way down here, bro. Something like this, I think. Yeah, something like this. Put this up here. So, after repairing a generator for at least 3 seconds, its aura is highlighted to you in yellow. When the generator stays highlighted until it's either fully repaired or you start repairing another generator or enter a locker. When you enter a locker, it triggers a loud noise notification at the generator's location. And then it goes on cooldown for 60, 50, 40 seconds. This isn't that great, especially not by itself. I like to use it with Blast Mine because I think it's funny. So what you do is you get the Blast Mine activated, you trigger the Blast Mine, and then you get in a locker nearby, and then it like, oh no, they blew the gen. So the killer goes, oh, they blew the gen, walks over, sees a generator with a lot of progress, kicks it, Blast Mine goes off. We all have a good laugh. The killer kills me, hooks me. We all have a good laugh. I get tilted. We all have a good laugh, and then we just move on. But in general, the perk's just fucking terrible. Don't use it. It's stupid. Renewal is another general perk right here. The next time you are unhooked or unhook yourself... Oh, sorry. In order to activate the perk, you have to heal another survivor for the equivalent of 1 hook state. So if you start healing a survivor, and someone else comes to help you, you don't get this perk. It has to be for the equivalent of 1 health state. So it saves progress, which is kind of annoying. But the next time you are hooked or unhook yourself, you suffer from broken until renewal deactivates. You are automatically healed for 1 health state after 28, 24, or 20 seconds. While renewal is active, the following conditions will deactivate it. Successfully being healed by renewal, being put into the dying state before the timer elapses. Realistically speaking, this is not a good perk. I like its idea, but I don't think that it really fits with being useful enough to be considered to be used very often. I think that if it took away the broken status effect when it deactivates, or I think that if it removed broken completely when you would use it, it would be great. Because then you could pair it with Deliverance, for example, and just instantly get healed. But if you're under the effect of a timed broken status effect, then it's not going to override it. And so it just kind of sits in this awkward position where you might get kind of fucking rolled. I think that the having to heal the equivalent of 1 health state is what gets me. I think it should just be when you finish healing another survivor, it should activate. Then it'd be pretty good. Jesus fucking Christ. Repressed Alliance from Cheryl. After repairing a generator for 55, 50, or 45 seconds, it activates. You can press the active ability button to call upon the entity to block the generator currently repairing for 30 seconds, after which Repressed Alliance activates. The aura of the blocked generator is revealed to all survivors in white, but you cannot do it while someone else is repairing it with you. This is fucking terrible. Don't use it. I know all the uses you're thinking of. Oh, but it stops the killer from kicking the djinn. I don't care. Kicking a djinn is not that big of a deal unless the killer has Pop Goes the Weasel. Will they have Pop Goes the Weasel? I don't know. But the point is that you're not going to run it just in preparation for Pop Goes the fucking Weasel. Number 2. Oh, well, if I do that, then it can stop something like Ruin or Pain Resonance. You can stop Pain Resonance by just retapping the djinn. You can stop Ruin by repairing the djinn. Ruin does not do enough for it to matter. It just doesn't matter. You're not going to use this. Don't lie to me. It's not useful. Nobody cares. Residual Manifest from Hattie. This is probably the best Hattie perk. So much like our friend Pharmacy up here, this perk allows you to always find a yellow flashlight in a chest. And you get a little token where you can rummage once per trial and find another yellow flashlight. Oh, I'm sorry. I got that wrong. So basically, when you rummage through a chest, you'll always find a yellow flashlight, but you unlocking a chest will not always produce a yellow flashlight. The cool thing from this perk, however, is after you successfully blind the killer, they suffer from the blindness status effect for 20, 25, or 30 seconds. Now, blindness as a status effect is heavily debated about whether or not it's a good status effect to inflict on survivors. I say it's very situational, and you probably have to have an entire build around it. But inflicting blindness on the killer is so strong that, to my knowledge, this is the only way to do it. And I'll be honest with you, if you can consistently pull it off, it fucks the killer's entire worldview up. Because they can't see the auras of generators. So whenever you don't have anything to do as the killer, like you lose a survivor or something, the next step is to patrol generators. If you don't have the aura of generators, it can be very difficult to patrol them. Oh, but you've had the aura all match, so aren't you just going to remember where the generators are? No, fucker, because as the killer, I have to remember about 500 different things. So no, I'm not going to remember where they are. Residual Manifest, all right perk. Gets the Kaiser stamp of all rightedness. Resilience is a general perk. Whenever you are injured, it increases your speeds to repairing, healing, sabotaging, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, blessing, opening, and unlocking by 3, 6, or 9% while you're injured. This is really, really good. I don't think there's any arguing with this. It's one of the best perks in the game. Just overall really good. Resurgence is a Jill perk. After being unhooked or unhooking yourself, you instantly gain 40, 45, or 50% to your healing progress. This isn't bad. I just don't think that you're going to be using it often. So I'll probably put it down about here-ish. It's not bad. It's just not the greatest. Rookie Spirit is up next. I was about to jump on the Saboteur. Rookie Spirit from Leon. While repairing generators, succeed 5, 4, or 3 good or great skill checks to activate. Once active, the auras of any regressing generators are revealed to you. This is not great. I'm just going to put it here. As like, oh, regressing generators. You can run over and tap them. Okay, well, I guess. Moving on. It's not the best. I'm sorry, guys. It's really not the greatest in the world. And yeah. Saboteur, now we're finally at it. Saboteur is a Jake perk. You see the auras of perks within 56 meters of a survivor being carried. Auras of regular hooks are white. Auras of scourge hooks are yellow. Unlocks the ability to sabotage hooks without a toolbox. It takes 2.3 seconds to sabotage it, and the action goes on a cooldown of 70, 65, or 60 seconds. I think, personally, this perk is only useful in Sabo builds, obviously, but because it's only useful in builds and not useful by itself, I think it sits in the C tier pretty low. I would say probably about here, for sure. Scavenger from Gabriel is actually a perk that a lot of people were worried about when the Singularity chapter released. None of us really knew how powerful Made for this was going to be. We were all worried about this one. So succeeding at a great repairing a skill check grants 1 token up to a maximum of 5. Reaching the maximum number of tokens automatically consumes them and fully recharges a toolbox. And repairing a toolbox will reduce your repair speed by 50% for the next 40, 33, or 30 seconds whenever you have the perk active. You can also rummage through chests one time per trial to get a yellow toolbox. Now, the reason this perk is not worried about anymore is because of its heavy, heavy nerfs of reducing the repair speed by 50%. Because basically what you would do before the nerf is you would deplete a toolbox, hit your skill checks, regain the charges of the toolbox, deplete it, hit your skill checks, recharge. You basically never ran out of toolboxes. So in order to counter this, they decided to just make it shit. So it's in the D tier now. Even being able to scavenge and get yourself, you know what? It's in the D tier above the other two chest perks. It's so bad now. There's like, it nerfs the very item you're trying to get and use it with, and that's just dumb. Scene partner with Nicholas, looking at the killer. While you're inside the killer's terror radius, looking at the killer causes you to scream, which reveals their aura for 3, 4, or 5 seconds. There's a chance of 50% you'll scream again, extending the aura revealed duration by another 2 seconds. And scene partner then goes on cooldown for 60 seconds. It's a funny perk. It's a funny haha perk. It's an info perk, and it goes actually pretty high in C tier. I would say it probably goes about like right here. It's a pretty decent info perk. Self-aware lets you see your own scratch marks and increases your walking speed by 10, 15, 20%. It is only ever useful in a sprint burst build, and for that reason, it's going in the D tier. Self-care. Don't use self-care. Don't do it. Don't use self-care. Unlocks the ability to heal yourself without a med kit, and then it's you only heal yourself at 25, 30, or 35% of the normal healing speed. Using self-care will take you almost a minute. If you are sloppied, it will take you over a minute. Do not, listen to me, do not use self-care. Okay? I'm glad we could all have this talk. Self-preservation. Life is unforgiving. The more confirmation you get... I'm sorry, I have not read anything else for any of these. It's a Yoon Gen perk. Whenever another survivor is hit with a basic attack or special attack within 16 meters of you, it activates. Scratch marks, grunts of pains when injured, and bleeding are suppressed for 6, 8, and 10 seconds. And much like Poised, I will once again ask you, who gives a shit? It's just... You know the problem with this perk? The problem with this perk is that the problem with this perk is that it only lasts for 10 seconds. If it lasted for something like 20, I might put it in D tier. But outside of that, no. Situational awareness. While you're repairing a generator, its aura is revealed in yellow to other survivors located within 32 meters. If the killer downs a survivor while you're repairing it, you see the auras of all other survivors for 8, 9, 10 seconds. Which is an interesting little bonus. Not necessary, but interesting. And I think we can put situational awareness actually in the B tier. Just because it reveals the generator that you're working on to other people, that's just really good. So you can always have a survivor be like, oh, looks like that person needs help. Do not use slippery meat. Do not use slippery meat. Do not use slippery meat. Slippery meat is only useful in builds that work around trying to unhook yourself, and it is only useful whenever the entire squad is behind you on that. So, do not use slippery meat. Oh, I'm sorry. It's effect. My bad. Let me tell you guys. It's a general perk that grants 3 additional self-unhook attempts and increases the self-unhook chance by 2, 3, or 4%. It's dog shit. Don't use it. Small game. Receive an auditory warning upon looking in the direction of totems in a 45-degree cone within 8, 10, or 12 meters. Small game has a cooldown of 14, 12, or 10 seconds each time it activates. For each dull or hex totem cleansed by any player, small game by any player. I did not know that one when I was using it at one point. Small game gains a token. Each token decreases the detection cone by 5 degrees up to a minimum of 20 degrees. So basically, you can get up to, you get up those 4 tokens, and then you like can basically pinpoint where a totem is. If you don't have a map, sure. If you do have a map, why would you? So it's going to go in D tier. Smash Hit. I think this is actually the... no, it's not the last exhaustion perk. We've got one more. Smash Hit. Whenever... It's a Yunjin perk. Whenever you stun the killer with a pallet, you sprint at 150% of your normal running movement for 4 seconds, and then you're exhausted. Now, this is interesting. It's actually the exhaustion perk with the lowest cooldown in the game of 30, 25, and 20 seconds. So, do with that what you will. I think it's actually pretty decent. I think it's better than Overcome. But it's still not good enough to make it into A tier, because you have to stun them with a pallet. Soul Survivor for Lori. Whenever... So, each time a survivor other than yourself is killed or sacrificed, you gain a token. Up to a maximum of 3, obviously. Grants a stackable radius of 20, 22, or 24 meters per token around you, up to a maximum of 60, 66, or 72, within which you are immune to the killer's aura reading abilities. So if the killer is within that 72 meters, they cannot see your aura. When you are the last survivor standing, you repair 75% faster, and you open the gate or hatches 50% faster. So, it's not bad. It's very similar to Left Behind in low profile in that how often are you the last killer or last survivor in the game looking for hatch. But if you're looking for a solid, if you're looking for a solid in-game perk and you find yourself being the last alive a lot, I think Soul Survivor is not bad. Not good enough to go up there, but it's Soul Survivor. Solidarity from Jane. While injured and healing another survivor without using a med kit, you passively heal yourself at a rate of 40, 45, or 50% your altruistic healing speed. That's not bad, actually. Not good enough that I think I would like to use it, but it's actually not too bad. I'd put it up here in C tier. I think it's pretty high in the C tier for sure. Soul Guard from Cheryl. Okay. After being healed or having recovered from the dying state, Soul Guard grants you endurance for 4, 6, or 8 seconds. Any damage taken that would put you into the dying state will instead trigger deep wound. Oh, we already know what endurance is. What the fuck? Taking any damage while under the effect of deep wound. Wait, why is all of this in the perks description? We already know what deep wound does. Okay, so Soul Guard allows you, so basically you get endurance if you recover from the dying state for 8 seconds, which is okay. But the only way that you can recover by yourself is if there's a hex in play. I'm currently working on an achievement. I have 4 achievements left to get as of recording this video. And one of them is to bless a hex totem 20 times. This is going to probably be the last achievement that I finish because hex perks are dog shit. And so nobody uses them. And so you should never run Soul Guard. Okay? This F tier right here, this is the never run tier. Don't run fucking Soul Guard. Moving on. Spine Chill. Whenever the killer is within 36 meters of your location and looking at you with a clear line of sight, Spine Chill activates. Increase your action speeds in repairing, healing, sabotage, and hooking, cleansing, blessing, opening, and unlocking by 2, 4, or 6%. The effect lingers for 0.5 seconds after the killer loses line of sight. This used to be great for somebody like me who's deaf in one ear, but then the visual terror radius came out, and now it's kind of useless, honestly. It's just don't use it. Sprint Burst, the best fucking exhaustion perk in the game. When you hit your sprint key, you run at 150% of your normal running's movement speed for 3 seconds, and then you're exhausted for 60, 50, 40. It's just stupid good. It's the best exhaustion perk in the game. It's so fucking strong. You wait for a killer to get close, you hit it, you take off running, the killer goes, arg, and throws their hat down and starts stomping on it like that one cartoon character from cartoon I can't remember. Stakeout. This is what I was talking about earlier in my gen repair, build. So every 15 seconds you are within the killer's terror radius while not being chased. Stakeout gains 1 token up to a maximum of 2, 3, or 4 tokens. This is really cool. Check this out. Even if you are hooked or in the dying state, I think you still gain tokens. When Stakeout has at least 1 token, good skill checks consume a token and are considered great skill checks. So this is really, really good. And I think that more people should use it. But if you get a great skill check, it doesn't consume any tokens. So if you're good at hitting great skill checks and you just want that little bit of backup, it's fantastic. I love it. I love this perk. It's so good. Streetwise is a nay perk. It's the first of our nay perks. It increases the efficiency of your items by 15, 20, or 25%. And it extends its effects to all other survivors within 8 meters and lingers for 15 seconds. It is not the best. It's not the worst. So I'm going to chuck it in the kind of middle of C tier. Efficiency of items is not as strong as you think it is. And I think that's one of the bigger problems with it. So, yeah, that's basically what we're dealing with there. Okay, we're almost done. The funny thing is, I'm actually recording this on a Sunday, and I have 30 minutes left before I need to start stream to start the react to start the rate my DVD, and I also haven't eaten yet. So I don't know why. I was like, oh, I'll record this video. It'll be like a short hour video. We're almost at 2.5 hours now. Okay, teamwork, collective stealth with Renato. That is this one right here. Whenever another survivor finishes healing you, the teamwork procs. This is how all teamwork perks work, even though there's only 2 right now, but that's how they work. Both you and the survivor who healed you benefit from no scratch marks as long as you stay within 12 meters of each other, or one of you loses a health state. And then it goes on a cooldown, a massive cooldown of 100, 160, and 140 seconds. Don't use this perk. That cooldown is way too big. Way too fucking big. And it also requires them to heal you. So, if you could heal them, and that cooldown was far less, like I'm talking like 60, 70, 80. I'm sorry, 80, 70, 60. Then I'd be alright. But the second teamwork perk is Power of 2. And when it procs, it's for Thalita, by the way. When it procs, you get a 5% haste when you're within 12 meters, and then it's got the same cooldown. This one's a tad better because of the haste. Scratch marks aren't as great as haste, but it's still pretty terrible, and I don't recommend using it. Technician reduces the audible range of repair noises by 8 meters. It's a Feng Min perk. Suppresses the explosion and accompanying loud noise notification when failing a skill check. Failing a skill check instantly regresses the gen by 5, 4, or 3%, as opposed to, I think it's 10%? That's not too bad. It's not great. You shouldn't be failing skill checks anyway. I'll put it middle of C. Tap. Tenacity. When you're on the dying state, you crawl 50% or 30, 40, or 50% faster. You can recover and crawl at the same time. And your grunts of pain from being in the dying state are reduced by 75%. It's not the best. It's not the greatest. It does it kind of require to be done with other builds, but I can see the uses for it. This is not happening. Increases the success zone of great skill checks while repairing and healing by 10, 20, or 30% while in the injured state. It's a general, I think I said that. It's not fantastic, but I think it is pretty high up in the C tier for sure. Oh, my voice is going out. Holy shit. How am I going to do the react? I should have waited till after stream today. It's fine. We're almost done. Troubleshooter. The aura of the generator with the most progress is revealed to you. The aura of the killer is revealed to you for 4, 5, or 6 seconds after dropping a pallet. I think troubleshooter. Oh, and the effect lingers for 6, 8, or 10 seconds, after which it deactivates. It activates during chase, and I think troubleshooter is a very underrated info perk. Very, very underrated info perk. I think it's one of the best info perks in the game. Just knowing the generator with the greatest progress by itself is great, but dropping a pallet while in chase and then being able to watch how the killer's trying to mind game you is extra strong. So, great. Unbreakable. You can recover from the dying state by yourself. This is a build perk. And you recover 25, 30, or 35% faster from the dying state. This is one of the best perks in the game. It's an anti-slugging perk. It's the best anti-slugging perk in the game. Unfortunately, you can only do it once per trial, but it's still just really good, and I recommend it. Up the ante is just like slippery meat. Don't run it. It's the same thing as slippery meat, except it increases your... every survivor who's still alive in the trial, you gain a token. Each token applies a stackable 1, 2, or 3% of luck of all survivors up to 3, 6, or 9. Luck is the mechanic used to unhook yourself. I think if luck was a better mechanic, this perk would be better, but as it stands, it's dog shit. Don't use it. Where did I put slippery meat at? It should be in the D tier, right? Yeah, it's in the D tier. Fuck it. Urban evasion, crouch movement speed. Don't fucking use this perk. Just fucking don't use this perk. Your movement speed is increased by 90, 95, or 100%. It's a nay perk. It's dog shit. Don't use it. We're moving on. Quentin's Vigil perk increases your recovery from bad status effects, so not buffs, but debuffs, by 20, 25, or 30%. And it also applies to other survivors within 8 meters of you and lingers for 15 seconds. This is a really good perk, especially if you're running exhaustion perks. It's really, really good. It should go in almost every exhaustion perk build. But also just being able to like get debuffs off you faster is just strong. Visionary. The auras of generators are revealed to you within 32 meters. Sick! Each time a generator is completed, it deactivates. Why? Don't use this fucking perk. It's the worst info perk in the game. Wake Up by Quentin. The auras of the exit gate switches are revealed to you up to 128 meters. Oh no, you're never going to be on a map that's bigger than 128 meters across. Don't worry about it. The aura is revealed to all other survivors within 128 meters of your location, and it increases your gate opening speed by 15, 20, or 25%. So it's really good. It's a really good in-game perk. I would put it at the bottom of C tier though, because I mean, there's other better in-game perks for you to run. But if you ever find yourself being like, I need to open the exit gates, run it. It's good. Will Make It, one of my favorite perks in the game. Whenever you unhook a survivor for the next 90 fucking seconds, 30, 60, or 90, but 90 fucking seconds, your healing speed's increased by 100%, bringing it from 16 seconds to 8 seconds to heal somebody. This is stupid strong. It's one of the best perks in the entire game. Don't sleep on it. We're Gonna Live Forever from David. Increases your healing speed by 100% when you're healing a dying survivor. While performing any of the following actions, you gain a token. Perform a safe hook rescue. Take a protection hit for an injured survivor. Stun or blind the killer to rescue a carried survivor. And then you can consume 1 token to grant endurance status effect for 6, 8, or 10 seconds to any survivor healed from the dying state. So basically, it's a worse buckle up. So, yeah, you can heal survivors faster, but just don't do it. It's so bad. It's so bad. Windows of Opportunity is one of those perks that a lot of people disagree on, but it's a perk that turns strong players stronger, mediocre players strong, and weak players are still weak. It basically teaches you map layout, but it allows you to see what... So what it does, it's a cape perk. Within 24, 28, or 32 meters, the auras of all breakable walls, pallets, and windows are revealed to you. So you basically use this perk to learn how to see what loops are chainable and what you can use. I personally don't use it because I'm not that good at looping to begin with, but I think it's genuinely a very good perk, and its power is directly tied to how good you are at the game. So I think it's very balanced. And finally, we have Wiretap. This is the last of the trap perks for survivors. It's an auto perk, and whenever you are after you repair a generator for 50% progress, you can press the ability button, and for 100, 110, or 120 seconds, you see the killer's aura whenever they come within 14 meters of the generator. But it deactivates if the generator is damaged. So it's pretty bad, but I think it can still go in C tier, and it'll go right there. And that's... Whew, my voice is shot. That is the survivor perks as of the alien patch. Thankfully, we won't have to do this again for a while because they don't rehaul perks very often. And the next chapter is going to be a killer, so I won't have to worry about this. If you're going to go to the comments and you're going to be like, do the one for killers, I'm waiting for chapter 30. So after chapter 30 comes out, give it like 2 or 3 weeks and you'll probably see a killer perk tier list. But for now, this is the survivor perk tier list. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. We've been going for, this video is going to be almost fucking 2.5 hours long, more than 2.5 hours long. So real quick, let's get the ending stuff out of the way. A very special thank you. Oh, hold on. Let me pull up my list. More of you guys have been joining as channel members, and it's crazy. Like every so often I'll check, I will check my channel member list randomly, and there's a new person on there, and that's really cool. So thank you guys for that. But here's a special thank you to my channel members: The Cannibal Main, Alex Ballix, Tabasco Raccoon, Ryan Gesture, Spirit Upgrades, and Nuclear Bomb. I really appreciate all of the additional support. If you guys want to learn how to get thank yous at the end of videos, as well as additional perks like knowing what video topics are coming up, like so when I schedule the video topics, I always post the thumbnail for the tier 2 channel members to see, so you'll always know what's coming up, as well as other stuff like behind the scenes on larger videos, or sometimes I'll share the script writing progress, stuff like that. I'm rambling though. Click the join button down below, and don't forget about the Halloween sale. And my voice is shot. I'm gonna go drink like 7 gallons of water before I start stream in 20 minutes. So have a good day, guys. Thank you again for joining me. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.